Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtapraeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatir uttamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrashabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vamcha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's Mataji's welcome you all to today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam as part of the Bhakti Vaibhav course. So we will do some revision from last discussion so that there is continuity. So last time we saw how Shukadev Goswami, after presenting to Maharaj Parikshit's different paths of transcendental realization, including the path taken by Gyanis, path undertaken by Ashtanga yogis, including Virat Rupa meditator and Paramatma meditator. Then he also covers the catalog of various devatas who can be worshipped to get a specific material benefit. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that devata worship as such, it is called worship, it is not, it is called upasana or worship. It is not bhakti, because if we follow a series of steps for devata worship, the devatas, they are bound to give the result even unwillingly. And we have so many examples from the history where different devatas have given specific benedictions out of compulsion rather than out of satisfaction or happiness. We see Brahmaji giving various benedictions to Hiranyakashipu out of compulsion. We see Lord Shiva appearing in front of Vrakasur out of compulsion, knowing that this person can very well misuse the benediction that I would be giving. But, and one more issue with the Devata given benediction, we saw that by enjoying and utilizing those benediction, the worshipper is subject to the laws of material nature. He is subject to karma phala. But in case of Lord Krishna, he purifies the heart before fulfilling that particular desire of the devotee, and subsequently he also brings a devotee to a platform of higher test where the devotee no more hankers for those material hankerings, like we see in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, that Narad Muni, when he first met Dhruva Maharaj, he did try to advise him for the highest principle, and that principle was forget that insult meted out to you by your stepmother, and just take up to devotional service of Lord Krishna. But that principle of forgiveness, because Dhruva Maharaj had Kshatriya spirit, he said, my dear Narada Muni, whatever you are telling is true, but my heart is not able to accept. And then subsequently, Narad Muni, of course, firstly, he didn't mention about surrendering to Supreme Lord, but then Narad Muni, seeing the sincerity of purpose of Dhruva Maharaj, because Narad Muni personally was sent by the Lord, he guided Dhruva Maharaj how he can get his desire fulfilled. But later on, after getting the darshan of Lord Vishnu in front of him, Dhruva Maharaj considered his earlier hankering of wanting a kingdom greater than his great grandfather Dhruva Maharaj, then Uttanapad, Swayambhuva Manu, and Lord Brahma. So his great grandfather, he wanted a kingdom even greater than Lord Brahma. So that desire was fulfilled, and even the dissatisfaction and the anger that Dhruva Maharaj had for his stepmother because of the insult meted out. While Dhruva Maharaj had forgotten Lord Vishnu did not. And he also mentioned to Dhruva Maharaj how his stepmother would die, how his stepbrother would die. So Lord Krishna, when he fulfills the desire of a devotee, he also brings them to the platform of higher test where they would give up their material hankering. And so that is the difference. Plus, the benedictions given by the Lord, they don't cause karma phala, they don't cause the cycle of bondage for the devotee, unlike the devatas. So that was the difference what we saw between approaching devatas for material benediction versus approaching Lord Krishna for any material desires like Dhruva Maharaj did. We will try to go a bit more into the depth in this verse because we covered only last few minutes of our discussion, and this is an important verse. So before that, one question I have: we had discussed a very specific meaning of the word Tivrena in this specific context. Does anyone remember, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, what was the meaning of the word Tivrena that we discussed in the context of this verse? Anyone?
Great force. Great force.
Uh, no. So that is the literal
Yeah.
translation, but we had discussed a very specific context to the word Tivrena. What does Tivrena Bhakti Yogena mean? We had discussed that Tivrena Bhakti Yogena means just Venkata Narasimha Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Tivrena Bhakti Yogena means single-pointed, undivided service to Lord Krishna without any other being followed to fulfill the desires.
Perfect, Prabhuji. So this is the answer that we had discussed, that no other path should be considered for fulfilling of the desire except for undivided devotional service to Krishna. Not only towards other persons or devatas, but including the processes of transcendental realization like jnana and yoga, etc. So undivided devotional service is what we had discussed as Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. So then next question comes that Shukadev Goswami in this specific verse, he is using all these categories of personalities for whom this does apply devotional service to Lord Krishna. Basically, he is taking all categories, but in a specific sequence. So the first category Shukadev Goswami mentions is a kamaha. That means they don't have any material desires. Sarva kamova, that means a person whose heart is filled with material desires, or even a person who is desiring liberation. Shukadev Goswami mentions that for all these three categories of persons, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena would help. And he is specifically using the word Udaradi, and Srila Prabhupada translates this word Udaradi as a person of broad intelligence. So a person who is really having broad intelligence, who is intelligent, falling in any of these categories, should better approach Lord Krishna for the fulfillment of his desires. And ultimately, he would achieve perfection. So now let us see what is the significance of Shukadev Goswami taking all these three categories in a specific sequence that he is mentioning. So typically it is described through, we will see the various supporting verses, that for a karmi, for a person desiring fruitive enjoyment, taking up to path of devotional service is not very difficult. Okay, we see so many example from the scriptures as well as within the material world as well. In fact, maximum number of people who come to surrender to Lord Krishna in our, even in our day-to-day lives, we see fall either in the first two categories. Either they come because of artha, because of material distresses, miseries, or artharthi, to get some material benediction. But in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the subsequent verses, we see Krishna referring to all these four types of pious people as magnanimous souls, as great souls. But Even amongst these great souls, there is a category where it is easy to approach Krishna, easy to take up to devotional service, and there is a specific category where it is very, very difficult to take up to devotional service. And we will see why it is difficult to take up to devotional service for these categories of transcendentalist. So what is that specific category for whom it is very difficult to take to the process of bhakti? So this category is Gyanis. And why it is very difficult? Because those persons who have tasted or understood the joy or pleasure of liberation, for them the material enjoyment is tuchcha, is distasteful, so they don't at all get attracted to material enjoyment. But because they have got that particular taste of a very higher form of enjoyment on being the platform of liberation, for them taking up to devotional service is not very easy. And we might be surprised how come it is like that. We will see some of the supporting verses. So the first verse I have quoted, this comes in Bhakti Rasamrut Sindhu, and this is also quoted by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrut. So where he mentions Bhukti Mukti Spruha Yavat Pishachi Rudi Vartate Bhav Tavat Bhakti Sukhasyatra Katham Abhyudayo Bhavet. So he basically mentions that both these type of pursuits, one is bhukti. Bhukti means pursuit of material enjoyment, fulfilling one's material desires. It is also type of getting haunted, and the pleasure that one gets out of mukti spruha, out of desire to become liberated, one with the Lord, that type of enjoyment on the platform of liberation is also a haunting. Haunting means that which prevents us to sincerely take up to the path of bhakti. So here Rupa Goswami writes that these two are considered to be two witches, and they haunt one like ghost. As long as these witches remain within the heart, how can one feel transcendental bliss? As long as these two witches remain in the heart, there is no possibility of enjoying the transcendental bliss of devotional service. So it means that the mukti kami, the person desiring liberation, why their desire is also considered sort of not exactly on the platform of pure devotional service, because they are so much frustrated by the material miseries, by the material distresses, that they want to negate and mitigate all the material distresses and come out of it and enjoy the bliss of liberation. So that is also a material desire, that we want to relieve ourselves from material miseries, but there is no positive desire to satisfy the senses of Lord Krishna, to please Lord Krishna. That is why it is not exactly considered on the platform of pure devotional service. And to give some supporting specific words from Srimad Bhagavatam verses, which mean that how for Gyanis it is very difficult. We see, we will see a verse in the next slide where Shukadev Goswami mentions in the first chapter of second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that even a person like me, he gives his own example, that even a person like me, my heart was transformed because of this process of devotional service, and I took up to devotional service, getting attracted to the pastimes of the Lord. Similarly, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in that famous verse, Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrantha Api Urukrame. So this word api stresses that these Gyanis who have nothing to do with the anything in the material world, even they get attracted. And in the purport, we see the example of Shukadev Goswami, that even such Gyanis who have nothing to give and take with the material world, even they become attracted to the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So Krishna has the power to attract even these persons who don't get attracted to anything of this material world. So api indicates that these are the least possible chances of least possible least possible chances of becoming a devotee in terms of the overall numbers between Artharthi, Jigyasu, and Jnani. Okay, there is one more verse that what I just mentioned. Yeah. So sorry, we'll first read this particular writing from Urmila Mataji, who is one of the senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Can I request devotees to keep hands raised, whoever like to read? Murli Prabhu, you want to read, Prabhuji? If your mic and everything is working fine. All right. So keep hands raised. Who was the other devotee? Gunavati Mataji, did you raise your hand?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
You can read. Hare Krishna.
The happiness of Bhakti is hard to understand. Text 10 continued. The happiness of Bhakti is very hard to understand. Generally in the world, we take happiness as being satisfaction of a body, mind, or both. Pleasure of the senses, pleasing thoughts, pleasing emotions, pleasing relationships. Those who are intelligent enough to understand that we are different from body and mind seek a very different kind of happiness, liberation. In the happiness of liberation, peace and freedom are key. There is a sense of balance, detachment, and expansive bliss beyond anything the body and mind have to offer. But the great teacher of Bhakti, divine loving service, tells us not to seek either of those two type of happiness. They say that desire for those type of happiness are like witches or ghosts who makes us forget the real essence of life. By Urmila Devi Dasi, Mataji, senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. So here again, Mataji is referring to the same verse that we saw in the earlier slide, where the desire for bhukti and mukti both are condemned. And everyone is clear, Prabhuji's Mataji, why the desire for mukti is condemned? Because it is more driven by we negating all the material miseries in this world, which is good, not bad, but it does not include satisfaction of the senses of Lord Krishna. It does not include, or the goal is not the satisfaction of the Lord, goal is just for me to get out of all these miserable conditions of life. So definitely it is higher than those who are desiring material enjoyment, but it is still a stumbling block to achieve pure devotional service. Any question on this specific point, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? What sort of material desires even the Gyanis have? Anyone has any doubts, concerns, or disagreements? Hare Krishna. We can discuss. All right. So let us proceed. We are still continuing with the same verse. So for one desirous of achieving mukti, liberation, taking up devotional service is not easy. Yeah, so there is one more verse that I have quoted here where the Shaunakadi Rishis, they mention that Shukadev Goswami, he was already a liberated soul. He was a Jnani basically. Then still he took the trouble to study Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Vyasadev. So they also consider him as a very, like Gyanis, as one of the last of the candidates who can take up to devotional service. Even in case of Kumaras who are mentioned as Gyanis, it is mentioned when the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of lotus feet of the personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of those sages, they experienced a change both in body and in mind. Even though, last statement is important, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. So, because the Gyanis are in a way attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding or attached to the pleasure that is derived from this platform of Brahma Jyoti liberation, for them to take up to devotional service is still not easy. Yeah, and the first verse was what I was referring to. Shukadev Goswami gives his own example. Parinishtito api. So here also the word api, that even a person like me who was attached by attached to pleasure of liberation, even such a person also got attracted by the pastimes of the Lord and subsequently became a devotee. So it is explained by one of our great Acharya Srila Rupa Goswami that this pleasure of mukti can only be understood to be insignificant in front of the pleasure of pure devotional service, only at a very highest platform of devotional service, including bhava and beyond bhava at prema. But till that time, the enjoyment of liberation is very, very difficult to be given up. Now, if somebody asks a person like all of us, Prabhujis, Matajis, which one what you would choose, mukti or pure devotional service? We will easily say pure devotional service. Why? Because we don't know what is the real pleasure of being at a liberated platform. But for somebody who is already at that particular platform, that pleasure is a huge attachment or stumbling block, and which can only go away when that person achieves minimum at a stage of bhava or even further. So here in the verse from Bhakti Rasamrut Sindhu, Rupa Goswami mentions various characteristics of pure devotional service, one being Laguta Krut. It makes the pleasure of the platform of Brahman realization seem very insignificant. It belittles the value of liberation. So coming back to this particular verse, yeah. So the conclusion is that all these types of persons, including the material enjoyers, including those who don't have any desires for material enjoyment, or even rarest of the rare jnanis who are attached to the pleasure of liberation, even they, if they follow Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, undivided devotional service to Lord Krishna, they can attain the topmost perfection. So is there any question, queries, Prabhujis, Matajis, in what context this verse is given? And we also went in detail about the sequence, what Shukadev Goswami has given of persons who take up to devotional service. Hare Krishna. Is it confusing?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Divya Rukmini Mataji, one by one will go. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhu, I don't know, it's a doubt or something. So if someone is following kamo sarva kamo or moksha kamo, whatever it is, so if the person is following the Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, see, we have the example seen in Dhruva Maharaj and all. Is he following? Okay, he's having some desires and all, but when he saw Krishna in front of him, whatever desires he's having, he forgot. So I don't. I think if we do that Tivrena Bhakti Yoga, the Bhakti should be prominent. If the Bhakti is so doing with the full Shraddha and all, so we don't get any. Our desires will be nothing. No, Prabhu. Am I right, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Everything will go.
Gradually, Krishna will bring us to the level where those material desires will be insignificant for us. But at the same time, Krishna will fulfill those desires. He won't leave them unfulfilled. He will just make sure that those desires don't cause us any harm. Like he purified the heart of Dhruva Maharaj, where he had complete distaste for what he had desired before. But still, Krishna fulfilled those desires. He didn't leave it unfulfilled. And probably that is the result why Dhruva Maharaj had to settle for 36,000 years of sovereignty as the king for the Dhruva Loka planet. Otherwise, if that desire was not there, probably he could have gone back straight away. But that desire, what he had previously, held him back. He had to enjoy the fulfillment of those desires given by the Lord. So Krishna caused causes distastement, but at the same time, he fulfills those desires as well. He doesn't leave it unfulfilled. Is that all right, Divya Rukmini Mataji?
But whatever it is, we don't get any affection for that one, no, Prabhu.
Correct.
Once,
Yeah.
whatever it is, once the Supreme Lord is in front of us, then what is the use of all these things? So
Yes.
we will.
Yes, Mataji. So we will develop distaste by the Lord's grace. That is true. Even Dhruva Maharaj did not want it any further when Lord appeared. Okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
That means the bhakti is more important, whatever it is. So anyabhirashita shunam jnana karma navritam. So jnana yoga or karma yoga, whatever it is. So nothing should be desire. That the desire should be nothing. So is it
So that is the highest level what you are just mentioning. But Shukadev Goswami is prescribing bhakti even for persons who are not on that highest level. They also can come to the highest level.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
One question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
In the Bhagavad Gita, I don't remember the exact word, but then it says, I think in the second chapter, it mentions that whatever be the path you take, whether it is jnana, bhakti, or dhyana, the ultimate goal is the same, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the ultimate goal is the same, but the processes are different. Yeah?
Yes. Ultimate goal is the same, but just one thing to understand is all other paths, including jnana, karma or yoga, ultimately we need to include bhakti in it to achieve perfection. But for bhakti yoga, that vice versa is not true. We don't necessarily need any other help from any other paths, but for all other paths,
I mean, just coming to that point itself, when you're calling bhakti yoga, actually all the paths are included in it anyway.
Yeah, they are the perfections of those paths are included, but the practices
anyway.
Anyway, the perfections of those paths are anyway included.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to clarify on that.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. So maybe if there is any one last, Mahesh Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. You want to read or you want to ask anything? You're on mute, Prabhuji.
Read, Prabhuji, read.
Okay, fine. So let us proceed. 1 second. So next question that might arise is, if surrender to Lord Krishna, undivided devotional service to Lord Krishna is the ultimate means for perfection, then what happens to the devatas for whom Shukadev Goswami had just listed a very long catalogue in text 7 to 10 earlier in this chapter? So Shukadev Goswami answers that particular question in this text 11. Mahesh Prabhu, you want to recite?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Etavana eva yajatam.
Etavana eva yajatam.
Iha nishreya sodayah.
Iha nishreya shodayah.
Bhagavati achalo bhavo.
Bhagavati achalo bhavo.
Yad bhagavata sangatah.
Yad bhagavata sangatah.
Translation
and purport by Divine Savai Chandanand Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: all the different kinds of worshippers of multi-demigods can attain the highest perfectional benediction, which is spontaneous attraction unflinchingly fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by the association of the pure devotee of the Lord.
Thank you. Just let me check the purport. It's long, so just we'll go through the highlighted part, Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhuji. Purport: this struggle for existence is something like following the will-o-wisp under the spell of material enjoyment. All plans for material enjoyment, either by worship of different demigods, as described in the previous verses of this chapter, or by modernized advancement of scientific knowledge without the help of God or demigod, are illusory only. For despite all such plans for happiness, The conditioned living being within the compass of material creation can never solve the problems of life, namely birth, death, old age, and disease.
Yes.
Apart from the gross materialists who care very little either for God or for the demigods, the Vedas recommend worship of different demigods for different benefits. And so the demigods are neither false nor imaginary. The demigods are as factual as we are, but they are much more powerful due to their being engaged in the direct service of the Lord in managing different departments in the universal government. The Bhagavad Gita affirms this, and the different planets of the demigods are mentioned there, including the one of the supreme demigod, Lord Brahma.
Thank you, Broj. So before we proceed to the next part of the purport, one important point, there are categorizations of people wanting to enjoy in this material world. Like say, for example, gross materialist. They don't want to give any attention. They don't want to give any reference, make any reference to the instructions of the Vedas, how to achieve that material enjoyment. They just want to enjoy their senses without bothering about Vedic instructions. They are called as gross materialist. That is one category. Second type of people who want material enjoyment, they follow the process of devatas worship. And even if they want material enjoyment, their practice is considered of devata worship is considered higher than the gross materialist. Why? Because at least they are following the Vedic injunctions that worship this and this devata, follow these steps, you will get material enjoyment. Similarly, we also see in the class of transcendentalist, like say for example, Virat Rupa meditators, because they have some tendency for material enjoyment, they are advised to meditate on the Virat form of the Lord, which is a material form and imaginary form. But because they are following the recommendation of the scriptures, they are sure shot to get result. Not only result, highest result. First Brahman realization through Krama Mukti, and then ultimately can go back home, back to Godhead also. So point is, these three categories, gross materialist, Devata worshippers, and Virat Rupa meditators, the Ashtanga Yoga meditators through Virat Rupa form. All these three categories, they do want material enjoyment, but the difference between these three is that the second and the third type of personalities, they are willing to refer to the Vedic injunctions. So the benefit they would get is definitely at a higher level compared to the gross materialists who don't want to bother at all about Vedic injunctions. So material desire is not condemned, but fulfillment of that material desire without reference to Vedic injunction is definitely condemned. So even for these Devata worshippers, what is the hope, Prabhuji's Matajis? If they continue to worship the Devatas for a very long period of time, will they achieve perfection? Not unless there is an intervention of a pure devotee. So it is mentioned in the translation, only by the association of pure devotees of the Lord, such Devata worshippers, they can take up to the path of devotional service. Prabhuji, continue the highlighted part.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. That is the verdict of Vedic literature. The worshippers of the demigods have one facility more than the unbelievers, due to their being convinced of the Vedic version, by which they can get information of the benefit of worshipping the Supreme Lord in the association of the devotees of the Lord. The gross materialist, however, without any faith in the Vedic version, remains eternally in darkness, driven by a false conviction on the basis of imperfect experimental knowledge or so-called material science, which can never reach into the realm of transcendental knowledge. Therefore, unless the gross materialist or the worshippers of the temporary demigods come in contact with a transcendentalist like the pure devotee of the Lord, their attempts are simply a waste of energy. Only by the grace of the divine personalities, the pure devotees of the Lord, can one achieve pure devotion, which is the highest perfection of human life. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So we will ask few questions in relation to this particular purport. Does anyone remember, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, what is the criteria Krishna use? What is the criteria that Krishna uses in Bhagavad Gita to differentiate between divine and demoniac? In Bhagavad Gita, what is the criteria given? Okay.
Asura.
Yes.
Okay, Prabhuji, I'll let others speak.
No, that is fine. Everybody can participate. You can refer to Bhagavad Gita. Okay, it is an open book question. Tarini Mataji.
Yeah.
Tarini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Panchanga
Hare-
Dandas.
Dandos Mataji.
One who follows the Shastras are divine,
Divine
divine nature,
nature.
and who don't follow Shastras are asuric nature.
Very nice, Mataji. So point is, even if one has material desire, following the Vedic injunctions to fulfill those desires is considered at a much higher a platform than not giving any attention to Vedic injunctions at all. So even demons of the previous times, they used to follow certain principles. They used to follow Vedic injunctions. Say, for example, Kamsa, when he was ready to kill his sister, he was the most demoniac kind, right? He was willing to kill his sister on the day of her marriage just so that his life will be prolonged and won't have any harm done to himself. But even such a personality, when Vasudev explained to him that, my dear Kamsa, whatever Kirti, whatever good name that your dynasty, it was Bhoja dynasty, right? Kamsa. So whatever good name that the Bhoja dynasty has earned over so many generations, all will get lost if you act irresponsibly. You have danger from the eighth child of Devaki, not from Devaki herself. So spare her life. Don't spoil your reputation by this irresponsible act of killing your sister on the day of her marriage. And Kamsa understood, he stopped immediately. So point is, and even other demoniac persons, say Duryodhana, for example, when during the battle, one night on the advice of Krishna, when Arjuna went to Kaurava's camp to ask for those 5 arrows, Duryodhana, Mahabharat mentions, was very generous and very receptive. He received Arjuna like a honorable guest and asked, my dear brother, what do you want? You want me to stop the war? So if Arjuna would have asked to stop the Kurukshetra war, Duryodhana would have done that. So point is, even the demons of the earlier ages, they were also following the Vedic injunctions. What to speak of ordinary people. So following Vedic injunction is considered a very, very high platform of compliance than not referring to Vedic injunctions at all. And I wanted to ask one more question, which I forgot.
Even Ravana also.
Ravana
followed.
also. Yes, Prabhuji. So by following of the Vedic injunctions, only all these demons got lot of powers. So I wanted to ask one more thing. Let me check the slide. Yeah. So I forgot Prabhuji's Mataji. If I remember, I will mention. But basically, for Devata worshippers to attain perfection in their life, yeah, I remembered. They must have the intervention by the pure devotees. So do we recollect Prabhuji's Mataji's, like those who have been attending from the first canto onwards? In first canto, chapter 2, in the sequence of advancement in devotional service, right up to the platform of prema and beyond, what was the first step we had discussed? What is the first step necessary, even before Shraddha, for that sequence to start? Anybody?
Shravanam or Ajnata Sukruti, one of that?
Agyata Sukruti, yes, but how does one get Agyata Sukruti? We had discussed once.
Eagerness to hear.
One by one.
Mahatsevaya Vipra Prabhuji.
Yes, Mahat Seva. So you are very close, Mataji. Mahat Seva. But before Mahat Seva, what would enable Mahat Seva?
Mercy.
God's mercy.
Yes, the mercy of the devotees of the Lord. So let me just show that slide. See, we had mentioned this particular slide from 1 to 16 onwards, how the progress in devotional service happens. So before Shraddha, before developing faith in devotional service, two steps we had discussed. One was Mahat Seva, what Mataji correctly answered, and that Mahat Seva, service to the great souls, is obtained by the causeless mercy of those devotees, right? So causeless mercy of the devotee is a beginning step to take up devotional service and ultimately go back home, back to Godhead, for all types of these personalities, including Devata worshippers, including gross materialists who don't bother about any any Vedic injunctions. Any questions, Prabhujis, Matajis? Are we still together? Are we aligned on this? Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
All right. So let us proceed. Then what happens to these personalities who, either the gross materialist or the Devata worshippers, who because of the mercy of the devotees, they get an opportunity to serve them, to associate with them? What type of transcendental knowledge they receive and what is the effect of that transcendental knowledge? We will see in this verse text 12. So we'll request one of the devotees. Anyone would like to recite Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Hare Krishna. Divya Rukmini Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Second, Prabhu. Jnanam yat one second, Prabhu. It's not clear from me. Gurur Jnanam yat aparadini vritta gunor chakram. Jnanam yat. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes. Yes, Mataji.
Jnanam yat aparadinivritta gurormi chakram atma prasada udayatra guneshu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you finish. That's fine. You finish.
Atma prasada udayatra gunesha sankha kaivalya sammada patastva ada bhakti yoga ko nivritu harihate atashu pratim na kuryat. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Translation.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Transcendental knowledge in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment and being transcendental. It is approved by authorities. Who could fail to be attracted?
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
So
Hare
before
Krishna.
we go through the purport, so here Shukadev Goswami is mentioning that these Devata worshippers or the gross materialist, when they come in touch with devotees and by the mercy of devotees, they get opportunity to serve them and associate with them, then they get transcendental knowledge about the Lord. And what is the effect of this transcendental knowledge? The whirlpool of material modes, the waves of material modes, they get suspended for such a personality. And ultimately, he develops attraction for the Supreme Lord. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment and being transcendental. It is approved by authorities. Who could fail to be attracted by such knowledge about Supreme Lord? So in this, let me just see 1 second. Yeah. So just the highlighted part, Divya Rukmini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thus, Bhakti Yoga, being the only means of God realization, is called Kaivalya. Srila Jiva Goswami quotes the Vedic version, Eko Narayano Deva Paravaranam Paramaste Kaivalya Samanchitaha. In this connection, and established that Narayana, the personality of Godhead, is known as Kaivalya, and the means which enables one to approach the Lord is called Kaivalya Pantha, or the only means of attainment of Godhead. This Kaivalya Pantha begins from Shravana, or hearing those topics that relate to the personality of Godhead, and the natural consequences of hearing such Harikatha is attainment of transcendental knowledge, which causes detachment from all mundane topics for which a devotee has no taste at all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And this part,
There are different modes of material nature, and all mundane functions in which a common man is very much interested or in which he takes part become unattractive for the devotee. This state of affairs is described herein as parinivritta gunormi, and it is possibly by Atma Prasada, or complete self satisfaction without any material connection. The first class devotee of the Lord attains the stage by devotional service, but despite of his loftiness, for the Lord's satisfaction, he may play the voluntary part of a preacher of the Lord's glory and dovetail all into devotional service, even mundane interest, just to give up the neophytes a chance to transform mundane interest into transcendental bliss. Sri Rupa Goswami has described this action of a pure devotee as Nirbandha Krishna Sampande Yukta Vairagya Muchyate. Even mundane activities dovetail with service to the Lord are also calculated to be transcendental, all approved Kaivalya affairs. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Thank you, Mataji. So in this particular verse, we see such type of Devata worshipper or even a gross materialist, when they come in touch with devotees, serve them, they get transcendental knowledge. The effect of that transcendental knowledge is listed by Shukadev Goswami. Aprati nivritta gunormi chakram, that he transcends the waves or the whirlpool of the modes of material nature. That is one after effect outcome. Second is Atma Prasada. He becomes completely self-satisfied and he is not bound by any of the gunas, any of the modes of material nature. And Kaivalya, the specific word the Acharyas have translated in connection with this verse, not as a mukti, as a liberation, but to refer to the Supreme Lord. That there is only one path to reach the Supreme Lord, which is the path of devotional service. So Shukadev Goswami is mentioning that who is that person who would not get attracted to such type of path to attain the Supreme Lord. So in these particular verses, Prabhuji's Mataji, still now in the first two chapters and half of third chapter, we see that Shukadev Goswami has more or less covered whatever he wanted to answer in terms of Parikshit Maharaj's questions, that what are the activities, ultimate activities for good for people in general, and especially for one who is about to die, and what should be heard about, chanted, remembered, and what should not be heard about, chanted, and remembered. So in answer to that, we saw in the beginning of second canto, Shukadev Goswami upfront mentioning devotional service to the Supreme Lord, that it is about Lord Vishnu that we should hear about, chant, glorify, and he should be the object of our remembrance. And then he covers all other different paths, including the path of Jnana, Ashtanga Yoga, and also Devata worship. So in a way, the Shaunakadi Rishis, in a way, the sages of Naimisharanya, after Suta Goswami mentioned this answer by Shukadev Goswami, they were a bit anxious. They were anxious whether Suta Goswami has only narrated to us the synopsis, the summary of discussion between Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami. So in order to encourage Suta Goswami to discuss further on this, they sing the next specific verse, which is very, very important. So 1 second. Let me go to my slides. Yes. So, Lalita Vinodini Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Shaunaka uvacha
Shaunaka
Uvacha
iti abhyartham raja
Iti
abhivyahratam
abhivyahrutam Raja
Shamya Bharatarshaba
Nishamya Bharatarshaba
Kim Anyat Prasthavan Bhuyo
Kim Anyat Prishtavan Bhuyo
Vaiyasa Kim Rishim Kavim.
Vyasakim Rishim Kavim.
Translation.
Yeah, translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sonaka said, the son of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, was a highly learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. What did Maharaja Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said?
Yes. So before we go to the purport, very important point to note here. The Shaunakadi Rishis are asking, Kim Anyat Prushtavan Bhuyo. So attend to their question very properly. They are saying, what else did Parikshit Maharaj inquire from Shukadev Goswami? They are not asking Suta Goswami, did Parikshit Maharaj inquire anything else, or did Shukadev Goswami explain anything else to Parikshit Maharaj? Because that is a very objective question. The answer to that question can be yes or no. So in order to avoid that, what they are asking, tell us what else did Parikshit Maharaj inquire from Shukadev Goswami. Those topics are also very important for us to understand. So just to give a context, I'll give you a similar example to make it more clear. Say, when my daughter was young, she never used to eat properly, always used to have little bit food, and then she will say her stomach is full. So we had to devise various tactics to make sure that she eats properly. So I would never ask her whether you want to eat this or not. I would always ask a question whether you like this or you want that. So she would have to choose either of the two options and she would have to eat that. So similarly, the sages of Naimisharanya, they are asking Suta Goswami, what else did Parikshit Maharaj inquire from Shukadev Goswami? So they are not giving a chance to Suta Goswami to say that, yes, this is what Shukadev Goswami explained and now we are done. So they want to hear more. They are anxious to hear about Krishna Katha more in detail. So let us go through purport, then we further see references. Yes, Mataji, full purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. A pure devotee of the Lord automatically develops all godly qualities, and some of the prominent features of those qualities are as follows. He is kind, peaceful, truthful, equable, faultless, magnanimous, mild, clean, non-possessive, a well-wisher to all, satisfied, surrendered to Krishna without hankering, simple, fixed, self-controlled, a balanced eater, sane, mannerly, prideless, grave, sympathetic, friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. Out of these 23 prominent features of a devotee, as described by Krishnadasa Kaviraja in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, the qualification of being poetic is especially mentioned herein in relation to Shukadeva Goswami. The presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam by his recitation is the highest poetic contribution. He was a self-realized learned sage. In other words, he was a poet amongst the sages.
Thank you, Mother. Just one small correction. It is 26 qualities. Okay, 26 prominent qualities. So we see similar verses from the sages of Naimisharanya to Suta Goswami earlier. Like all of us might remember from when we just started discussing Srimad Bhagavatam in the first chapter, first canto, the sages mentioned to Suta Goswami that actually we had arrived here in Naimish Aranya, it is the holy place, to conduct a sacrifice for 1000 long years for the benefit of people of Kali Yuga. But all we got was our bodies were covered with soot. Bodies were covered with the black soot coming out from that yagya. Nothing much we got. But with your presence, we want to utilize this time to hear about Lord Krishna. And they specifically mention through various verses. Say, for example, 2 verses I have quoted here. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with him relish hearing of his pastimes at every moment. So they are reassuring Suta Goswami, don't think, my dear Suta Goswami, that we would be tired of hearing. You please continue. In another verse, 2 verses down the line, they say, knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length. I have highlighted the word. They wanted to hear Krishna Katha at great length. That means no synopsis, no cutting short, no cutting the corners. They wanted to hear Krishna Katha at length. And we will see in the next verse, what does it mean by hearing Krishna Katha at length? What all does it include? We are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead, and in this way perform sacrifice. So coming back to the point, the sages of Naimisharanya, they were prepared for a long haul. They were prepared. They said that we wanted to perform sacrifice for 1,000 years. That means you definitely have sufficient time, Suta Goswami, to discuss Krishna Katha as long as you want, because we are here for a long haul. We are not going to go away anywhere. This is one. Secondly, another concern for the sages of Naimisharanya related to the same point. When did Shukadev Goswami's dialogue start? Prabhuji's, Mataji's, in Bhagavatam? Anyone? Those devotees who have not spoken, we would request. So Ananda Prada Mataji, Ishwari Murari Priya Mataji, Jagadananda Prabhu, Devika Mataji, and others. Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji. When did Shukadev Goswami's dialogue or conversation start in Srimad Bhagavatam? Yes?
Canto 2.
Canto 2, correct. Perfect. So basically his arrival was there in the last chapter of Canto 1, chapter number 19, and he started speaking, answering Parikshit Maharaj's questions only from Canto 2, chapter 1 onwards. And how many chapters are over, Venkata Narasimha Prabhuji, since Canto 2? Only?
This is third
one. So around 2.5 chapters are over till now. So probably it is only about 2 hours, we can roughly guess about 2.5 hours of conversation of Shukadev Goswami with Maharaj Parikshit that Suta Goswami has narrated. And sages of Naimisharanya are very anxious. We don't want to stop at this synopsis. Please explain us further what Parikshit Maharaj inquired, and in the next verse it will be clear what that further means and how it is significant as well. Okay, we will see it in text number 14. Gita Mataji, Hare Krishna, you want to recite or ask any question? Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Dandavat pranams.
Dandavat Mataji.
Etat chushushrutam vidwan.
Sushrutam vidwan.
Suta no rishi bhashutam.
No asi bhashutam.
Katahari katodarkaha.
Hari katodarkaha.
Tatam shu satasi dhruvam.
Tatam shu sadasi dhruvam.
So before we go to the translation, the sages of Naimisharanya are saying that first of all, what type of combination is there in Naimisharanya? They are saying Etat Chushu Shatam Vidwan. That on one side, my dear Suta Goswami, it is us Chushu Shatam, those audience who are very eager to hear. And on the other side, it is the speaker, who is Vidwan, who is all knowing about the knowledge, about the science of Krishna, who has heard it from none other than Shukadev Goswami. So this combination is very nice, my dear Suta Goswami, that we are eager to hear and you are eager to speak about Krishna. So let it not stop. Explain us more. And how do you explain us more? Katha Hari Katho Dar Kaha. That means don't just restrict yourself to describing Harikatha, even those descriptions which ultimately conclude in topics about the Lord, which ultimately conclude in Harikatha, those topics also we are very much interested in hearing. So two things. One is the discussion about Krishna, Krishna Leela, and second is those discussions which ultimately would conclude in Harikatha about discussions about Krishna. Both the topics the sages of Naimisharanya are very interested in hearing about. Yes, Gita Mataji, translation.
Translation. O learned Sutta Goswami, please continue to explain such topics to us because we are all eager to hear. Besides that, topics which results in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotee.
Yes, thank you. 1 second, let me check the purport. It's a big purport, so we will go through the highlighted part.
Perfect.
Yeah.
For example, the epics or the histories of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are specifically recommended for the less intelligent classes, women, Shudras, and unworthy sons of the higher castes, are also accepted as Vedic literature because they are complied in connection with the activities of the Lord.
Yeah, continue. So Bhagavad Gita.
So Bhagavad Gita, although containing the high philosophy of the Vedic wisdom, is for the beginners in the transcendental science, and Srimad Bhagavatam is for graduates and postgraduates in the transcendental science. Therefore, literatures like Mahabharata, the Puranas, and similar other literatures which are full of the pastimes of the Lord are all transcendental literatures, and they should be discussed with full confidence in the society of great devotees.
Yes, Mataji. So we'll take a pause here. And now one question for all the devotees. Prabhuji's Mataji's, what is the difference we can say between scriptures like Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam? If anyone were to ask, what would be the answer? And I will request devotees who have not spoken. So anyone, you can raise your hand, whoever wants to answer. What is the difference between these two great literatures? Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Is it mentioned for the less intelligent people, Prabhu?
Okay, yeah. So less intelligent people, okay, but it is still purifying. But what else apart from that?
It is a historical event in the form of stories, Prabhu.
Yes, sorry. Oh, yeah, Sanatani Jayashri Mataji. Very nice. Mahabharata is the historical events in the form of stories, but there is one specific aspect to that stories. What is it? In reference to this verse. What do those stories relate? Come again.
They mention this as a fifth Veda, whereas
Correct.
Srimad Bhagavatam is a complementary for Vedanta Sutra, Prabhu. It is a summary. It has been the peculiarities. It has been written by the author only. Usually, author won't write the complementary, but here Vedavasa wrote Vedanta Sutra and he has written the complementary notes,
Commentary
Prabhu.
on. Okay.
Commentary, sir.
Thank you, Mataji. Anyone else? Mataji is very close to answering.
He is the higher form of knowledge, Prabhuji.
What is higher form of knowledge?
It deals with the subtleties, the creation, and the.
You mean Srimad Bhagavatam, is it, Murli Prabhu?
Both. I mean, Bhagavad Gita as such.
Okay.
Gives him the higher form of knowledge for the. What this is, those who have the ability to digest the information and put it to understand it. Whereas Srimad Bhagavatam in the form of stories is more for people who cannot really digest the higher form of knowledge, but then want to get attached to it.
Okay. Thank you. So specifically, I don't want to come.
Spotless Purana, Prabhuji.
Then yeah. So Srimad Bhagavatam is spotless Purana, and how about Mahabharata? What is Mahabharata?
A part of Mahabharata in that Bhagavad Gita is mentioned, Prabhu. That.
Okay, but see.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Can I Prabhu? So
Yeah,
even if
yeah.
writing all the scriptures of Vedas and Puranas or Idihasas and everything, Vyasa, he is
That's
not
okay.
happy. So after getting the association with Sri Narada Muni, he wrote because he didn't write anything about Krishna. So he started writing for once he started writing for Bhagavatam, he is happy. His mind is not fully satisfied. So
Yes.
that is the difference of all these idihasas, Puranas, and all. So it's a direct explanation of the Lord Supreme.
Thank you. Thank you,
Hare Krishna
Divya
Prabhu.
Rukmini Mataji.
This is
Sorry. One, so,
Bharatam
sorry.
is
Wait. Let's
Panchama
go
Veda,
through.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Panchama
you.
Veda.
Thank you. Let's go a bit systematically. Those devotees who have raised their hand, I want to ask some of them.
Sorry,
Usha,
Prabhuji.
no
Sorry.
problem. Hare Krishna. Usha Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare
This is
Krishna
Panchama
Prabhuji.
Veda, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
This
Srimad
is called
Bhagavatam,
Panchama Veda, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Usha Mataji.
Srimad Bhagavatam, I think it provides a deeper spiritual interpretation, and it focuses on the life of Lord Krishna and emphasizes on how to achieve bhakti, which is the ultimate spiritual path. Whereas Mahabharata is chronicling the dynasty and noting down all the events that happened that led to the war.
You are very close. So yes, Mahabharata basically chronicles various events, which includes political plots, which includes dynasties, which includes the household related issues and the fights between the families and all. But what is special about all those topics being discussed in Mahabharata, Usha Mataji? What is special?
It is special because it teaches us a lot of spiritual, gives us a lot of spiritual knowledge, the do's and don'ts on how to lead our lives also.
Right. And why are those discussions important? Because who is there in those?
Krishna is also
Krishna
there.
is there.
Yes.
Correct. So ultimately,
and that's where the Bhagavad Gita, is spoken the first time.
Correct. Correct. So Bhagavad Gita specifically, I'm not stressing because ultimately it is pure, even if it is part of Mahabharata. But Mahabharata overall has so many plots related to politics, related to family specific affairs and all, which exactly may not seem like devotional service, right? So when we compare one-on-one Mahabharata, leave aside Bhagavad Gita for the time being from Mahabharata because it is a pure highest scripture in itself, no doubt about it. But other parts of Mahabharata, we cannot compare it with Srimad Bhagavatam because entire Srimad Bhagavatam, it deals with pure devotional service in terms of either various incarnations of the Lord, their activities, lifetime, or lifetimes of various pure devotees of the Lord. But the focus is always pure devotional service. But even in Srimad Bhagavatam, the topics related to Krishna Katha, they only come in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But what this verse is specifically saying, that both these are important. That means Krishna Katha is important and Katha Hari Katho Darkaha. That means that discussion which ultimately is resulting in Krishna Katha, that is also important according to the sages of Naimish Aranya. So 1 second, let's go through the slide 1 minute.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhuji, can we also say that Mahabharata is more philosophical, whereas the Srimad Bhagavatam is more spiritual?
So I agree to extend that Mahabharata, apart from topics related to Krishna pure devotional service, it has other topics including politics and all, which is not exactly pure devotional service because it is meant for a specific class of audience. Whereas Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mean for Mahabhagavatas to relish, plus for the conditioned soul to purify their existence. So the purpose and target audience is different for Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam. So let us see this, for example. Sorry, other devotee was also speaking. Who was the other devotee?
Prabhu, one sentence I will tell Prabhu.
Yeah.
This Mahabharata will tell more of 4 things, Prabhu. Dharma,
Artha, Kama, Moksha. Correct.
Whereas this one is fully exclusive. It tells about the pure
Pure
devotees'
devotions.
life stories. After that, Krishna. So it molds our heart towards 10th canto, Prabhu. Hare
Very
Krishna.
nice. Yeah. This is also important point Sanatani Jayashri Mataji just covered, that even in Srimad Bhagavatam, in fact, I have covered it in the next slide, all the 10 cantos have been designed by Vyasadev and by Shukadev Goswami in such a way that the audience is gradually drawn, attracted to the topics of Krishna Katha, to the topics of Lord Krishna's pastimes. So Srimad Bhagavatam is also designed that way. Although it relates to pure devotional service, it gradually takes us one by one level higher. And Srila Prabhupada himself writes in the introduction that by the end of completing reading of Canto 9, a proper, sincere student of Srimad Bhagavatam, he will already be on a liberated platform to appreciate Lord Krishna's pastimes. So, while it is dealing with pure devotional service, it is also gradually taking us to Krishna Katha, to the point of appreciating Krishna Katha. Let us go through some reading of the slide and one example to understand this point. Anybody would like to read? Sorry, I couldn't ask all the devotees. Prabhuji's, Mataji's, apologies. I will ask for the next question. So, Sanatani Jayashri Mataji, Hare Krishna. Please
Hare
read.
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Important of discussing Katha Hari, Kato Darkaha, those topics, I couldn't able to see the Prabhu, should ultimately conclude in the
Harikatha.
Harikatha. Text 14, Srimad Bhagavatam begins from the history of Pandavas with the necessary politics and social activities, and yet Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be the Paramamsa Samhita, or the Vedic literature meant for the topmost transcendentalist, and it describes Param Jnanam, the highest transcendental knowledge. Pure devotees of the Lord are all Paramamsas, and they are like swans who know the art of sucking milk out of mixture of milk and water. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.14. Example: when we order food in high class restaurant, typically the food is served in the order: appetizer followed by starters, main course, dessert, and items to aid digestion like fennel seeds, etc.
Thank you. Thank
Dasa.
you. So we will take a pause here. So example that I have put here, say for example, when we go for having a dinner or a meal in a say decent restaurant, typically they don't give us the main course straight away, although it is supposed to be the main food item that we go to relish in that particular restaurant. So first they give us appetizer, say for example, certain soup that we order. And what is the purpose of the appetizers, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? As the name suggests, what are they supposed to do? The appetizers?
Increase
Make you eat more.
Increase the hunger, right? Increase the fire in the belly so that our body is eager to receive the main course that we are supposed to. And then we get starter, which create a taste, and then we are served main course, which is the main food. But even when we have main course, it is not that we continue to eat items in the main course till the very end. We do keep some space to have dessert as the last thing, sweets, and then we are given certain items like fennel seeds or any other mukwas and all, which can aid digestion. Right? So similarly, the scriptures, they also have various topics which can increase the appetite, which can increase the eagerness of the audience to hear that main course, to hear Krishna Katha. So all these other topics that are given, like Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, the topics related to the politics and the social activities related to Pandava's life, that can be considered as appetizers, which are ultimately guiding us to the main course, which is Krishna Katha. And we will see another few verses from Bhagavatam which confirm this understanding. So this particular point, what Sanatani Jayashree Mataji had mentioned a while ago, that all other 9 cantos, starting from creation onwards, first canto onwards, they are meant to drive. Mataji, continue to read just the translation, to isolate.
Prabhu, for me, it is not visible, Prabhu.
Okay, no worries. I will read. To isolate the transcendence of the summum bonum, the symptoms of the rest are described sometimes by Vedic inference, sometimes by direct explanation, and sometimes by summary explanations given by the sages. That means summum bonum is the Krishna Katha, 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But for us to appreciate that properly, all other topics we need to understand here. And I have given some examples of those topics in Bhagavatam, which are not exactly Krishna Katha, but which are like these appetizers. For example, the allegory that we see in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni describing the story of Navadwarapuram, the city of 9 gates, to Prachina Bari, to explain that how he's totally drowned in fruity activities and what happened to that city of 9 gates, which was attacked by Kalakanya and then attacked later on by the serpent, the death. And then Prachina Bari understands, Arey, he's talking about me only, and then he becomes a realized soul. Similarly, in the 5th canto, there is a description of Vedic cosmology, how this cosmos is created, how the different planetary systems are there. So that description is not straight away Krishna Katha, but it is ultimately guiding us towards Krishna Katha. Similarly, the description between Narad Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj about Varnashram institutions and the duties, it is not directly Krishna Katha, but it is ultimately guiding us towards Krishna Katha. So these are some of the topics in this example of having food in a proper restaurant. These are like the appetizers to increase our eagerness and appetite to hear Krishna Katha. Is it clear, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Are we aligned on this point? That why the sages of Naimisharanya mentioned to Suta Goswami that we also want to hear these topics which would ultimately conclude in Krishna Katha, which are Katha Hari Katho Darkaha. That means ultimately they would lead to discussion about Krishna. So is it clear what are those topics and why they are important? Hare Krishna. Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Any question on this? Shama Gopika Mataji, Divya Rukmini Mataji, any queries, questions you have on this? Why these topics are important and why? So you might say that are they not part of pure devotional service? To be honest, they are leading to the discussion on pure devotional service. So they are part. Okay, whole Srimad Bhagavatam we say is focusing on pure devotional service. But that doesn't mean from verse 1 itself, we are discussing about Krishna Katha. We are drawn to Krishna Katha by the speaker through gradual discussion of the topics, which would guide us to that conclusion.
And also,
Basically what...
Sorry.
Yeah, Murli Prabhuji.
Yeah, basically what you mean is that we are not only discussing the main topics, but also the associated topics to increase our understanding of the main topic. That is
correct.
The summum bonum of what you are saying.
To increase our appreciation for the main topic. Okay. Hare Krishna. Shama Gopika Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. And even like after Srimad Bhagavatam is completed, Parikshit Maharaj, we see that Parikshit Maharaj actually starts chanting, and this also like develops the taste of chanting. Like when we hear Hari Katha, and this also leads to, getting more taste for chanting.
Correct. So as we had also discussed the same point what Mataji just mentioned when we were discussing text 2:1:11, that what was the text? That Kirtanam, etan nirvidyamananam Ichchatam akuto bhayam yoginam rupanirnitam harer nama anukirtanam. That we had discussed that to have the kirtanam properly, one needs to hear properly. So yes, that is true. Hare Krishna. Any other question, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, or thoughts to be shared on this point? Everyone is aligned on this point, why these topics are relevant and important. Everyone is very quiet. Is today's discussion very philosophical, Prabhuji's, Mataji's?
No, it's clear, Prabhuji. The message is clear.
Hare Krishna. So let us see furthermore deep dive. There are few more discussions which we would try to refer to understand this particular point. Okay, so let us go through the discussion between Maitreya Rishi and Vidura. So who was senior out of these two, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Who was the senior? Maitreya Rishi. Yeah, Vidura, in terms of the spiritual stature, he was pure devotee from earlier on, and Maitreya became pure devotee later by hearing from Krishna when Uddhava was present. But in terms of age seniority, Maitreya Maharshi was senior because he was contemporary of Vyasadeva. Okay, he was an equal, and I heard in one class that he was also the classmate. I didn't know that earlier, but I had heard earlier that he was a contemporary. He was an equal to Vyasadeva. And who is Vyasadeva in relation to Vidura? Prabhuji's, Mataji's?
His father, biological.
Father, correct. Yes, his biological father, because ultimately Vichitra Virya's wives and the maidservant, they were impregnated by Vyasadeva at the request of Satyavati. So Vidura's father was Vyasadeva. So Vidura was speaking to a personality who was equivalent to his father in terms of his contemporary. So here we see in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam conversation. We'll request a devotee, Shama Gopika Mataji. You want to read, Mataji?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Paravareshaam Bhagavan Vratani.
You continue, Mataji.
Is it okay? Shrutani me Vyasamukhadabhikshanam Atrupnuma Chulla Tesham Rite Krishna Katham Rataughat. O my Lord, I have repeatedly heard about these higher and lower statuses of human society from the mouth of Vyasadeva, and I am quite satiated with all these lesser subject matters and their happiness. They have not satisfied me with the nectar of topics about Krishna.
Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam 3.5.10.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, when the discussion between these two great souls start, Maitreya Maharshi is reluctant to speak about Krishna to Vidura. Why? Because of two reasons. He knows Vidura is not an ordinary soul. As some Prabhuji Mataji just mentioned a while ago, Vidura is a pure devotee of the Lord from earlier on. And Maitreya Maharshi is fully aware about this. Secondly, he also knows that Vidura is coming from none other than Srila Vyasadeva himself. So that means there must have been every possibility of Vidura having heard transcendental topics from Vyasadeva from earlier on. Because of this, Maitreya Maharshi is reluctant. But what Vidura is saying? That, my dear sir, while I have heard from my father, mostly he is referring to descriptions of Mahabharata, which contains various other topics, including politics, social life, family related affairs, so on and so forth. But he's saying, I have heard these topics many times, my dear sir. But because those topics did not solely focus towards pure devotional service, towards Krishna Katha, they have not really satisfied my heart. So I request you to fully describe to me topics of Krishna Katha which will satisfy the heart. And then he further goes on to say, Mataji, please continue. Translation.
Your friend, the great sage Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa has already described the transcendental qualities of the Lord in his great work, the Mahabharata. But the whole idea is to draw the attention of the mass of people to Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Gita, through their strong affinity for hearing mundane topics. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.5.12.
Last one.
Okay. O Maitreya, O friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord. 3.5.15.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. So here we see Vidura is also mentioning the reason for describing all these supplementary topics which would ultimately lead to Krishna Katha. Why? What is the reason it is mentioned? The whole idea is to draw the attention of the mass of people to Krishna Katha. That's why probably Vyasadeva has mentioned so many politics, so many social events and all in Mahabharata to attract people who are not exactly on the platform of pure devotional service to gradually appreciate Krishna Katha. We will see. Yeah. So through all these examples, we see given by the sages that they are very, very eager to hear from Suta Goswami, not only just about Krishna Katha, but even those topics discussed by Shukadev Goswami, which result in discussion of Krishna Katha. They want to hear all of that. We saw the example of some of these in the previous slide, like the Vedic cosmology and Varnashram institution description and so on and so forth. So they also want to hear that, Shaunakadi Rishis. So now we come to the last verse which I had planned for discussion today, which is text 15. And what do the Shaunakadi Rishis do in order to guide attention of Suta Goswami and encourage him to discuss those topics? They also start glorifying the speaker and the primary audience and primary speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, namely Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami, so that Suta Goswami is inspired to speak about them. So this is the last verse which we will discuss today, text 15. And let me see few devotees who have not spoken at all. Anybody would like to recite Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Anyone? Okay, we'll wait for few more devotees who have not gotten a chance. Usha Kamat Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Verse 3.15. Savai Bhagavato Raja.
Savai Bhagavato Raja.
Pandaveyo Maharataha.
Pandaveyo Maharataha.
Palakriya Kai Kridan.
Balakridanakaya kridan.
Krishna Kridamya Adate.
Krishna Kridamya Adate.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of the Pandavas, was from his very childhood a great devotee of the Lord. Even while playing with dolls, he used to worship Lord Krishna by imitating the worship of the family deity.
Thank you, Mataji. So before we go through the purport of all the great activities that Maharaj Parikshit performed in his life, including, like it is mentioned, we saw how all the kings of various parts of this earthly planet, they used to voluntarily come, submit themselves and offer taxes to Maharaj Parikshit, recognizing his position as the sovereign king of entire earthly planet. And so many great chivalrous activities that Maharaj Parikshit performed. Of all those activities, the sages of Naimisharanya, they are referring to this particular activity of Maharaj Parikshit. And what is that? That in his childhood, how Maharaj Parikshit used to imitate his great grandparents who would probably be worshipping deity of Lord Krishna by having his own doll of Lord Krishna and playing with those dolls. Parikshit Maharaj used to imitate the worship of the family deity and imitate various pastimes of Lord Krishna. So, of all the activities, why is this particular activity chosen by Shaunakadi Rishis to glorify Maharaj Parikshit? We will see some pointers given by Prabhupada. So, purport is bit long, so we will read only the highlighted part. Yes, Usha Mataji.
Yes. But Maharaj Parikshit was more than that because he had been a great devotee of the Lord since his previous birth. And as such, he took his birth in an imperial family of the Kurus, and specially that of the Pandavas. So, from the very beginning of his childhood, he had the chance to know intimately the devotional service of Lord Krishna in his own family.
Yes, continue.
By the grace of Lord Sri Krishna, we had the chance of being born in a Vaishnava family. And in our childhood, we imitated the worship of Lord Krishna by imitating our father. Our father encouraged us in all respects to observe all functions such as the Ratha Yatra and Dola Yatra ceremonies, and he used to spend money liberally for distributing prasada to us children and our friends. Our spiritual master, who also took his birth in a Vaishnava family, got all inspirations from his great Vaishnava father, Thakura Bhakti Vinoda. That is the way of all lucky Vaishnava families. The celebrated Mirabai was a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna as the great lifter of Govardhan Hill.
Continue.
The life history of many such devotees is almost the same because there is always symmetry between the early lives of all great devotees of the Lord. According to Jiva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit must have heard about the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna at Vrindavana, for he used to imitate the pastimes with his young playmates. According to Sridhar Swami, Maharaj Parikshit used to imitate the worship of the family deity by elderly members. Sri Vishwanatha Chakravarti also confirms the viewpoint of Jiva Goswami. So, accepting either of them, Maharaj Parikshit was naturally inclined to Lord Krishna from his very childhood. He might have imitated either of the above mentioned activities, and all of them establish his great devotion from the very childhood, a symptom of a Mahabhagavata. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
based on this highlighted purport that we just went through Prabhuji's Mataji's, do you have any thought on why the Shaunakadi Rishis chose this particular incident from Maharaj Parikshit's life of he playing with dolls and imitating Lord Krishna's pastimes or worship to glorify Maharaj Parikshit? Any thought why they chose this particular incident in reference to Srila Prabhupada's purport? Don't worry, even if it is wrong, it's slightly inference question. Okay, so I don't expect the answer to be right 100%, but any thoughts anyone has? Why would
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna?
Even Srila Prabhupada also in his childhood, I think he has played, that means Ratha Yatra also he made it actually.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Devika Mataji.
This also shows that the influence of parents and elders in the family, how it will impact the children.
Right. And what Srila Prabhupada writes in the concluding part, that all of them, that means the explanations of all these acharyas who he has quoted, Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, etc., all of them establish his great devotion, Parikshit Maharaj's great devotion from his very childhood, a symptom of a Mahabhagavat. That means while a person can become a pure devotee, even if he is born in a not so favorable circumstances, for somebody who is born in the family of such great souls like Pandavas for Maharaj Parikshit, or Gaur Mohan De for Abhay, Srila Prabhupada, or Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur taking birth as Vimala Prasad in the family of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This birth in such a Vaishnava family denotes that this person is carrying lot of spiritual credits. He is carrying lot of spiritual credits from the previous life. It is not accidental, right? This is the first point. So Srila Prabhupada is systematically giving these examples to prove that life history of many such devotees is almost the same, because there is always symmetry between their early lives of all the great devotees and what all activities they perform later on. That means taking birth in the family of great devotees is definitely a symptom that this person is carrying lot of spiritual credits from previous birth. It is not accidental. And subsequently, they also leveraged on that early start by fanning that spiritual spark. Like in the case of Prabhupada, he mentions in Leelamrut that when he was young, Srila Prabhupada used to go through the railway timetables. When are the trains from Kolkata to Jagannath Puri? In a day, there are almost 6-7 trains, and Prabhupada would very fondly note down their timings. That means his desire was always to visit that place and witness that Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri, what he was playing as a childhood play. Similarly, for Bimal Prasad, that was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's name, when he was a young child, he was so devoted that one time Bhaktivinoda Thakur corrected him that there were mangoes that were brought in home during the summer season. And as a child, naturally, children are fond of mangoes. Bimala Prasad, he took one mango and ate it straight away. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur mildly scolded the child that how can you eat the mango without first offering it to Lord Krishna? And Bimala Prasad took it as a lifetime instruction, and he never touched mango any time in his life, saying that I am an offender. You can eat, but I cannot eat because I have done that offense of eating mango without offering to Lord Krishna or Lord Jagannath. So point is, all these great souls, they carried these very positive impressions of bhakti from their last life into their childhood, and from their childhood, when they grew up, they fanned the same impressions and went on to become great devotees. So why the sages of Naimisharanya have chosen this particular pastime is to indicate the spiritual credit, the spiritual stature of Maharaj Parikshit, that he was a great devotee right from childhood, that he was so much attracted to Krishna and imitating Lord Krishna's pastimes as form of the play. So that was to glorify Maharaj Parikshit's position. Hare Krishna. Any thoughts, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, on till now? Hare Krishna. Where are we in terms of our discussion on this chapter? How the flow is coming along? Sanjukta Mataji, Hare Krishna. Any queries? You are very quiet, Sanjukta Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
No, Prabhuji, my system.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, my system is so slow today.
So,
not
okay.
Okay,
no problem. And Ananda Pradha Mataji, you had raised your hand in between. My apologies, I couldn't ask you. Sorry, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. But are you still together? Like you are on the same flow? How the flow?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So any questions, comments, thoughts, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, till now, whatever we discussed, that today we started with that Akamo Sarva Kamova verse, and we saw the difference between Devatas fulfilling material desires versus Krishna fulfilling material desires. How there is purification and gradual elevation to the higher test where a devotee is no more desirous of material enjoyment. And then we then we saw that how the Devata worshippers can be uplifted, and Shukadev Goswami mentions that through the association of the pure devotees, in whose association they get transcendental knowledge which has so many benefits, including transcending the three modes, including becoming self-satisfied, and so on and so forth. And then we also saw basically how, hang on, no, we also saw how amongst all the different types of transcendentalist and all, for a Jnani to take up devotional service is very, very rare and difficult, mainly because of the enjoyment they experience at the level of liberation. It is very high. And none of us, we have experience of that. So we can still appreciate devotional service straight away. But for them, it is very difficult. And yeah, and then we saw after Suta Goswami discusses all this, the sages of Naimisharanya are very eager to even hear about supplementary topics which would ultimately lead to Krishna Katha. They want to hear about that in detail. They don't want Suta Goswami to conclude summary or synopsis. And then we saw, in order to encourage Suta Goswami, how they decide to glorify the primary audience and speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, starting with Maharaj Parikshit. So in the subsequent verses, which we will see next time, they also glorify Shukadev Goswami and ask further questions. Hare Krishna. Any?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji.
Prabhu, it's already past 12. Shall I ask question?
Yes, Prabhuji, you can ask.
I need also help, Prabhu. You earlier asked, Prabhu, in the class that if things are clear, whatever you have taught, everything was crystal clear, Prabhu. But the fact is, the bottom line is, how is it going to help Prabhu me personally? You know, for a fallen soul like me, who is completely materially obsessed, you know, the taking the first step itself is becoming a big deal to get rid of the material obsession. All these things, Prabhu, will come much later. For writing exam and understanding things, it is fine, Prabhu, but how is it really going to help me in my spiritual progress?
So, very nice question.
To get rid of the material obsessions itself is becoming a big deal, Prabhu.
Thanks for a very honest question. In fact, this is the situation for all of us, Prabhuji, at least I can say about myself. But we can take encouragement from the fact that Shukadev Goswami, persons like Shukadev Goswami, Suta Goswami, time and again, they certify in Srimad Bhagavatam how discussing these topics about Krishna itself is very purifying. So even if we are surely not on the platform of neither the sages of Naimisharanya nor at the platform of where Parikshit Maharaj is, but at least by appreciating the discussions between these great souls, our hearts will also be purified, Prabhuji. Like we read that famous verse from second chapter of Canto 1, Nashta praeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. That by regular attendance in discussion of these particular topics, our heart is cleansed of all the misgivings, and devotional service to Lord Krishna arises as an irrevocable fact. So we can take comfort from that even if we are not at that level of appreciation, witnessing this discussion will definitely purify us. And how long it will take? To be honest, there are so many examples of people more fallen than us. We have the example of Dhunkari and Gokarna. Dhunkari got liberation even before Gokarna in 7 days itself. Similarly, Parikshit Maharaj in 7 days. And who was that personality who helped the Devatas, who got one Muhurta? Khatwanga. Maharaj Khatwanga had about 48 minutes. So if all of these personalities could strive, we can also surely try, Murthy Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu, it is all at this moment, Prabhu, this is all like a dream. and for academic excellence or for writing exams, this is all fine, Prabhu. But in the bottom line being my help for my own spiritual growth, I mean, I see very little relevance.
No, Prabhuji. Actually, that is your humility. And second thing, we have to be patient and tolerant with ourselves. That it cannot happen that lifetimes of whatever dirt we have accumulated in our heart, we expect it to be cleansed all at once. Definitely, cleansing process is there, but substantial difference we can see only based on, based on the time that Krishna has assigned for us. So for some of us, it may be few moments, few days. For some of us, it can even be few lifetimes. But what is important is how eagerly we continue the process. That eagerness will attract Krishna's attention. So even if we don't understand how that cleansing of the heart is happening, that eagerness to continue that cleansing will definitely please Prabhupada. And if Prabhupada requests Krishna, we definitely have hope. Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Anybody else wants to add anything on what Prabhuji asked? Mahesh
No,
Prabhu? Murli Prabhu, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it's a question of lifetimes, Prabhuji. It's not just one lifetime. Probably millions more. We just don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
As long as we are on the path, that's enough.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, they will be saying that we have got into the boat. We should not leave this boat.
Very true. Very true. Yes. So we should not leave the boat. That means till the very last day of our life, till our very last breath, we don't want to give up association of devotees and hearing discussion of Krishna Katha. And then we leave it to Prabhupada, we leave it to Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada and Krishna, how they want to route our journey towards Krishna's lotus feet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, kindly accommodate me in one of the Bhakti Vriksha group, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So separately, is Premapriya Jayashree Mataji here? Lalita Vinodini Mataji, can you please offline check with Premapriya Jayashree Mataji and accordingly
Yes,
see?
Prabhuji, I'll find out.
Please.
In fact,
please.
she had written the group, I think. She can accommodate. I will ask her to take her in.
Sure. Okay. You will come back to you, Sanatani Jayashree Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Vamcha Kalpa.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Sorry, Prabhu, I have a question. We've seen that Jnanis, due to their experience of liberation, it becomes difficult for them to take up the devotional service. Does that mean, here we are talking about only those Jnanis who have already achieved the liberation or who are on the path?
We are talking about those Jnanis who have tasted that pleasure, joy of liberation.
Okay.
And one reference I wanted to mention when that discussion was on, you can check at your leisure, after Krishna discusses all the Sukrutinas in 7:16 of Bhagavad Gita, read the next 3 verses. He mentions that out of these, all Sukrutinas are magnanimous souls, but amongst them he mentions Jnanis are very special according to Krishna because they are in knowledge of the self and the Supreme Lord. They know who is self, who is Supreme Lord and the Sambandha. And Krishna mentions amongst thousands of karmis, there is one Jnani. And amongst thousands of Jnanis, there is one Bhakta. So in that purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions the rarity of pure devotional service. So there also we can see why and how it is difficult. Is that all right? Shama Gopika Mataji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Vamcha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Vaishnav Thakur ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhu, please don't end the meeting. Exam is going on.
Sure.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, pranams Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Pranams. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So Rasarangini Mataji, I have made you host.
Thank you, Prabhu. I'll stop.